All right, hello, welcome everybody, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the webinar. And just to check if audio and video are working correctly, please give me the number 2 in the chat box. Awesome, lots of twos. Looks like everything's working all right. And welcome, and again, Happy New Year. David Pareja here, and I'm really excited to be delivering this webinar to you today. This is the best webinar and content I've put together. And it's so simple. And it goes against what everyone in the industry is saying. We're constantly bombarded with these marketing messages. Physicians can't be successful in private practice. Don't even try. Or private practice is dead. And hospitals are buying up every practice. And join a group, work for a hospital. Doctors aren't good business people. Patients won't pay their bills or they don't have any money. In the coming hour, we're going to work to dispel these lies and cure mind viruses and helping to understand that doctors can and do have multi-million-dollar medical practices, yes, even today, that give them lots of happiness, professional satisfaction, recognition, freedom, and allow them to acquire wealth. So I'm going to teach you how to create a system that attracts a steady flow of patients on demand with predictability month after month. For so many physicians, each day is like another game of just waiting. It's waiting for a doctor to refer to them and waiting for a word of mouth referral by another patient, or waiting for this magical marketing patient or marketing person to walk in the door that's going to send them a flood of business from other doctors. And most practices rely on what I call random acts of marketing and hope marketing, which is really just a surefire recipe for struggle or failure in today's health industry. And I'm going to show you how to seal all the holes in your revenue cycle bucket. What I mean by revenue cycle bucket is all the processes surrounding the collection and retention of revenue in your practice, your billing, coding, collections, documentation, the different employees that have an impact in your revenue cycle in your practice, which is essentially everybody. All right, and how you can seal this in 90 days or less, and how you can build a wall of protection that safeguards your entire practice, protecting it from audits and negative payer action like prepayment reviews. I'm going to also break down how an integrative medical practice model generates a consistent flow of new premium patients who are happy for you to bill their insurance, happy to pay their balances, happy to pay you for cash services, and very happy to refer everyone they know to your practice. In referring to integrative medicine in practice, I'm creating a new definition for the integrative medicine practice model. And this is really a 5-step system. This is the clinical part, which is the part that most people think of when they think integrative medicine, which is integrating Eastern and Western medicine, nutrition, and like herbs and homeopathic medicine, the integration of all of those into your clinical practice, acupuncture, massage therapy, but also integrating strong revenue cycle management, which is your cash and insurance, right? Not just cash or concierge medicine, and not just insurance. It's the best of both integrated into your practice model, integrating point of service care into your integrated practice business model, okay? So, patients come in and you have point of service care that you offer them so they don't have to go elsewhere to get it done. Integrating business strategy is another point, leadership and professional development for your team into your practice's DNA, and integrating coaching until your practice is stable and ready to and able to fly on its own. So physicians have been trying too many things just to get by and survive in practice. Right? They balance locums hours, they moonlight at the hospital to take ER calls, rather than laser focusing on their practice. So today's webinar will bring you peace and put you at ease, because I'm going to talk about how to get better results for your patients and your pocketbook, get more success, more professional satisfaction and prestige, and how to do less by teaching you how to focus 100% of your mental energy into your healing craft and into your practice. You see, private practice is still the best business you can ever be in. And that's a general theme for today's webinar. So I'm going to show you how to get to 7 figures with your practice by doing less and focusing more on your craft. And I'm really pumped up and excited to be delivering this to you today. And the title of this webinar is the Genome Blueprint of a Multi-Million-Dollar Medical Practice. And I'm going to lay out the operational DNA of a multi-million-dollar operation. So you can utilize these strategies in your practice starting tomorrow, January 1st, 2020. So give me a number 7 in the questions box if you're really excited and pumped and looking forward to this presentation today. Awesome. Let's jump right in. And I'm not going to do the typical webinar that goes on for 3 hours. I respect your time and mine. And it is New Year's Eve and we all have plans tonight. So this webinar is going to be about 45 minutes. It's going to be fast and action packed. Lots of things to cover here. So let's just jump right in and please stay until the very end. So who is this for? Okay, this is I want you to know that you're in the right place right now, and so you can make a decision whether you should quit out and go back to doing other things. This webinar is really for anybody who makes a living from treating and healing people with their expertise, knowledge, and wisdom, and those involved in the operations that treat the patients. For example, your billers and administrative staff and clinical staff. There's basically 3 types of people who are going to benefit from the webinar today. And first, we have the physicians with existing practices, whether they're established, they just started, or just about getting ready to start. Then we have the amazing administrative, billing, and clinical support teams that keep a practice running in this very complex healthcare business environment. And then we have those who work to market and grow the practice. So these are really the 3 types of individuals that are going to get massive value out of this webinar today. And in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to show you how to turn your practice into a 6-figure per month income earning machine that heals patients. And even if that number sounds crazy to you right now, believe me, when I got into the business of medical practice management for myself, I really had no idea of the impact that a well-managed, systemized, integrative practice model could generate. I never dreamed there would be so much impact for the providers, the patients, and the employees and the entire team. I just thought if we were making $1 million a year, we'd be fine. But trust me, the amount of revenue that you can make in medical practice these days with all the tools and technology that we're blessed to have at our disposal, it's really ridiculous and makes it much easier than ever before. So I'm going to show you how to get to that 6-figure per month level and how to do it, in a reasonable amount of time. All right, so in the next 45 minutes, just stick with me and you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn the following little known practice strategies. I'm going to teach you how an integrative medicine practice model creates a revolving door of patients and why you want this in your practice. How to create a system that attracts a steady flow of premium patients by utilizing this strategy. The 9 building blocks from the genetic makeup of an efficient billing operation. This is going to help you maximize every collection opportunity with insurance companies and patients, and it safeguards your practice from audits. This is something you can do in 90 days or less, and it ensures that you're not going to lose tons of money as a result of your billing operation, which is one of the big reasons that practices end up having to go out of business, probably the main reason. Also, we're going to talk about the 9 genes that cause disease and death in a medical operation and the 7 super genes that $1 million practices have, but the struggling ones do not. So if you want a blueprint that's going to empower you to expand your practice in 2020, you're going to value these strategies and you still stick around to the end and get them all. We're going to dispel lies and cure mind viruses that are commonly circulating around patients and private practice. So basically, I'm going to outline the operational DNA of a multi-million-dollar practice model. So you can utilize these strategies in your practice starting in the new year. So I want you to please keep some facts in mind and understand some things for today's webinar. All right, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme or plan of any sort, or anything based on dishonest billing practices or anything like that. This is really for those who are ready and willing to put in the work and work hard and make an impact. Docs that I work with, they work hard, long hours, they listen and they implement, and as a result, they make a lot of revenue and they have a tremendous impact with patients. They let their ego go, they listen to feedback and they take action and they implement the strategies and things I teach them and they experience massive results. So the results that my clients have achieved are not typical. So, the people you're going to hear about again, they're hardworking physician entrepreneurs. They learn, they grow, they adapt, they listen, they improve. They're always on a quest to get better. And, the results that you get in your practice are entirely up to you. I think you understand that. So the genome blueprint of a multi-million-dollar medical practice reveals the operational DNA completely decoded of a multi-million-dollar practice, and it allows you to unleash the same power in your practice. You can also have a thriving and profitable practice. It empowers physicians to be successful in private practice. Hey there, everybody. Again, my name is David Pareja, CEO of Pareja Medical Consulting, and I understand the pains that you feel in practice as a physician and how to fix them in 120 days or less. And I'm sure you're wondering, well, how did you figure out the genome blueprint and become the expert in helping physicians achieve these multi-million-dollar improvements in the business of integrative medicine? You see, right there on the right is Augusto Pareja. It's my father. He's a family physician who started in private practice actually when I was 6 years old. And later on in his career went on to practice integrative medicine. And I grew up in and around private practice and watching my dad and my mom, who was his practice manager, just struggle to figure the whole thing out. And it was painful a lot of times. And along the lines where my dad was probably like in his early 40s, he was diagnosed and started developing rheumatoid arthritis. And my dad was the kind of doctor that would do a lot of procedures in the office, and his knuckles were getting big, and he was having trouble closing his hands and all of that. And it was at that point when my father and mother decided that he wasn't going to take part in the traditional rheumatoid arthritis treatment protocols that he saw failing so many of his patients for so many years. So this began his journey into integrative medicine. And so we're going back over 30 years. And this is at a time when really nobody was talking about it. You didn't have the internet and all access to information like nowadays. So the end result is he was able to quickly and completely reverse the RA, and then decided he couldn't continue to treat his patients with strictly traditional medicine. So he started integrating various treatment protocols to heal patients, experimenting with things like nutrition and homeopathy and desensitization of allergies, and educating patients on the foods that they're eating that cause inflammation in the body, and helping them to one by one get off the bag of farm drugs that they were taking on a daily basis, which were causing his patients to get sicker. So again, from the age of 6, I grew up around private practice, watching my parents try everything to be successful. And from the age of 12, I grew up around integrative medicine. So I guess really like understanding medical practice and the healing of the body is kind of in my DNA. And, as a child, I watched them figure it all out. And when figuring out the business on it was really, really painful. So for years, the family dinner table talk was these insurances, they don't pay, and we need more patients. And like on better days, it was like, hey, Blue Cross or Medicare sent us a nice check today, or we saw more new patients today. And it was really the same story for so many years. And I remember as a child just going and asking every night, hey, did you see more patients today? Did you guys get some checks? Your children are kind of involved in what's going on within the house, so they're privy to that kind of information. So does this sound familiar to you? Okay, well, at that young age, I made a decision. I vowed that I would help them out one day, which finally happened 2 decades later. So after trying to figure out the business of private practice for over 20 years, a huge success finally became a reality for my father. So it was over 15 years ago that I first stepped in to help him transform his practice. And because I had wanted to do it so long, when I had the opportunity to help, I was so determined. I focused my mind like a laser to figure out the puzzle. And I put hours, day and night into this. And how did I do it? I just started first by recognizing that there was an issue with the billing and his billing operation. So I quickly learned the ropes and dialed in on decoding the DNA of a successful integrative revenue cycle operation, which is the integration, of course, of cash and insurance. Again, part of this integrative business model, the billing, coding, collections, documentation, and all the related processes. Now, this was really very challenging at first because I was dealing at the time, he had in-house billers who he trusted, and and they had been there for a while, and I had to get down and do a lot of research and find out that they weren't doing their job, and then I had to replace them, and I had to do a lot of research and just figure all these things out. But I'll tell you what, after decoding this, everything changed for the better big time. And the revenue started pouring in a way, really, quite frankly, that blew my mind and my father's. We're like, holy smokes, is this where the money's been all this time? It was really mind blowing. And it happened in a way that he had never experienced. So my father was finally able to focus 100% of his energy and attention on serving and healing patients. So he was operating at his highest level of productivity. This is part of this blueprint that I'm talking about. All right. And he was generating revenue while his practice operations were functioning like a well-oiled machine in the background. All right. Now the revenue continued to grow as we focused on the business, as he focused on healing patients. We, the momentum started, the revenue grew and grew, quickly grew into the multiple seven figures. And as a result, we were able to build a bigger practice. And we were able to pour more money into advertising to grow the brand, adding employees, providers, and ancillary service lines. And as I continued mapping the Genome Blueprint, the practice took off like a rocket ship. And over the years, I have fully mapped the Genome Blueprint of a multi-million-dollar medical practice. Now, you might be believing a lie that is stronger today than it's ever been, and that's that physicians are even more convinced of it. And it's like, physicians can't make it in private practice. And I want to just let you know that this is a virus of the mind. You see, many physicians allow themselves to unknowingly become infected with mind viruses. You can't be successful in private practice, so they accept the virus and they don't try. Or even worse, they have a practice and they allow mind viruses that are put into them by other people to gradually take them over, infect them, and destroy their own practice. And you might be thinking, okay, well, the story of Prairie Hill Medical Center is really great to hear, but that was, over 15 years ago, and the times have changed. Well, which as a kid, I was hearing that too, like, well, it was a lot easier back then. And, I've been hearing that for decades. Okay, so I want to ask you a question that I really want you to think about and consider is, what allows one physician to still run his practice, make millions of dollars, have freedom, flexibility, and lifestyle, and they build wealth, while others can't even make it in practice or they don't want to try because they're too scared? So is it that you can't make it in private practice anymore, or is there something that separates them? Okay, so to go into this, I want to help you debunk this lie that you can't make it in practice anymore nowadays. And here's a current story of growing Sam Cassar's practice by over 1,000% during the past 5 years. So in his last year neurology training, Sammer told all his colleagues, I'm going to start a practice of my own from scratch. And they all said, this is a bad idea, don't do it. You need to be employed at the hospital. So recognize this attempt to infect the mind with the virus. So instead of doing this, Sammer took a contrarian view and rejected the virus. And let's just hear it from his own words. I'm gonna let you guys hear it from his own words.
I was in training in the last year of my neurology training. I told my attendings, my colleagues, I'm gonna go start practicing my own, from scratch. Everyone was saying this is a bad idea. Don't do that. It should be like with a hospital employed. I said no, I'm gonna do it. So and I started this back in 2013, and then with David, and from that, day after day, I was so lucky to make that decision. So.
Yeah, it's being in private practice nowadays is a challenge, and a lot of physicians are so focused on treating patients, and running the business can be really difficult.
Yeah.
But you start to put together the right systems and the procedures, for the business, and then the business can start to run on its own without constant management. Once you really get some key fundamental business operations really set and solidified, and you get the right team in place. So, and then the revenue's gone up. Your revenue's gone up.
It's all changing.
So we've been working together for 3 years now. How many times have you moved in 3 years because you were growing?
Actually, let's actually move 3 times. We started a small office first, about 2 or 3 exam rooms, and then after a year, moved to a bigger office for about five rooms. And even that, after a year and a half, we found out this we need more space because we get so busy, more patients, more volume, and we need more staff. So we decided to move to a bigger office, which is the office right now here. So as I said, I mean, I'm lucky, and I met David. I mean, we started working together as partners, and things after that we just became better and better every day.
Yeah, and the growth, I can remember the growth, like when I first. So there you hear it. So in October 2014, when we started working together, Samra was holed up in a small office space with 2 exam rooms, a tiny waiting room, and a lot of operational challenges. There was no marketing, no brand, no online presence. His billing agency was doing a terrible job, and his revenue was going down. He had very little money coming in. It was a really bad, desperate situation. And he really didn't know what direction to turn or who to trust until we met. So he, put his faith and trust in me, and he just said, you know what, I can put this blueprint in place and it'll help. So we started sealing the holes in his bucket, and the revenue quickly poured in, and his revenue doubled in 90 days. And then we started implementing other parts of the blueprint, and within 6 months, he was busting out of that location. We had to move into a bigger space to handle the growth. By October 2015, Samra's practice had exploded to over $130,000 a month. Yes, you heard correctly. That's a $95,000 a month growth. Now, it's quite interesting because I recall back to this time after we had moved into the new building, and he's hitting $135,000, $140,000, $150,000 a month out. Even at that point, Samra still had these doubts in his head and was even considering selling his practice, this fear. All right, so this is all part of the psychology and the virus and the importance of having somebody that can coach you along this road. So a year and a half later, we grew out of that second space, and we had to move into a third space, and we found this bigger space. When I was looking for the spot, I was like, I need to find a spot that we can grow and continue growing without having to move again. And so I found a nice big spot in the building where there was other, ability to expand internally. And now $300,000 plus months are normal and expected, and we've hired many new employees, providers, staff, and the practice has grown actually over 1,000% in 5 years. And Dr. Kassar's practice runs more efficiently now than when it was small, and every month it just regularly, steadily grows. And he has no doubts now about the success and being able to be successful in private practice. You couldn't get him to get out of practice if you tried. Now, you see, over the past 15 years, I've been dedicated to helping a select group of doctors who are committed to 4 things. And those 4 things are exploding their practices into the multiple 7-figure range, million and multi-million dollar practices, becoming recognized as healers in their communities, expanding and building new medical centers, and having a lot of freedom and fun in the process. And here you can see some images, the bottom centers, with my father and part of the team that we had, all those people that I hired. And top center is my picture of my brother and I at Pareja Medical Center. And then here's, working with the builder to build out a new medical center for another physician over here where I'm with the staff and shooting professional videography for marketing and brand development. Okay. And now in the remaining 25 minutes, you're going to understand exactly the blueprint that physicians are using to unleash this power in their practice to increase their revenue by 25 to 225 to 500+%, and how you can do the exact same thing. So the same troubles that my parents experienced over 30 years ago still exist today in practice, but the thing is they're magnified many times over. All right, so like in years past, the insurers, they were paying a lot more money for claims and rich reimbursements, and and despite themselves not having well-run operations, physicians were able to make it in practice while leaking all this revenue. Right, but the times have changed, and the healthcare business environment has changed, and there's a lot of regulatory changes, and the insurers are making it harder than ever to get paid, and you can't run your operation like you used to and expect to be successful nowadays. So, in order to have huge success, you have to follow a blueprint and have a coach to help you along that can show you how to operate an efficient, profitable medical practice where you have well-managed systems that simplify your practice operations and allow you to focus on your practice and seeing patients while your revenue increases and your profitability increases. So physician entrepreneurs, they work so hard and they try to map the blueprint. They do, but very rarely do they map it entirely. And each missing piece of the puzzle can cost hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars in annual loss, or even the failure of the business. And the ones that do map it completely become successful and recognized brands. Because without a blueprint, multiple holes are caused in the operation, causing it to operate far below its potential. So can I ask you a question? How much sense does it make, and how long would you continue to pour water into a leaking bucket before you made a decision to seal the holes? Think about that. Well, to make more money and fix inconsistent revenue, many providers, they think that they just need more patients, and we need more patients, we need to market. Rather than first putting a laser focus and a high priority on sealing the holes in their bucket. For example, I had a doctor that I met with recently, and he just kept telling me that he needed more patients. And I asked him about his revenue, and let's just say he was making at least 100 grand a month. And he said to me, well, I am, making 100 grand a month. And he said, yeah, my billing can probably be improved. I probably can improve it 15%, but I just really need to see more patients. And his average dollar value per patient was $100 per patient per visit. Okay. And so he wanted $15,000 a month. If he acknowledged he was probably losing $15,000 a month, he said he could have a 15% increase. So this would have been the equivalent of an additional 150 patients a month on his schedule, just fixing the revenue cycle. Okay, so it's so important to put a laser focus on quickly fixing the revenue cycle, and it doesn't take long when you have the right team and the right information, and you know exactly what you're doing. So these holes cause millions of dollars in revenue to leak out of your revenue bucket, and it makes it extremely difficult to thrive in practice. And again, most operations fail to put an aggressive laser focus on sealing the holes in the revenue cycle bucket and making sure they always stay sealed. And year after year, they lose hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars a year, and definitely millions of dollars in revenue over the life of your practice. This lost revenue is your ability to grow your practice. Okay, this lost revenue hinders your ability to grow, and it's your ability to stay independent. And the crazy thing is it can be fixed actually very quickly. So medical operations and practices cause many challenges that can cause physicians to be fearful, cause them to be very frustrated and get them feel like overwhelmed and burnout. And it probably leaves some wishing that they never even chose practice. And you've heard all these terms: macro, MIPS, value-based payments, PQRS, ICD-10. I kind of call it like the government's alphabet soup of changes aimed to keep you distracted and busy with crazy paperwork rather than focused on what's most important. And that's reaching and healing more patients, growing your practice, and making more money. These changes are constant. You know that, I know that. So in trying to figure it all out, physicians try a lot of things in practice that actually throws the practice into chaos and stops the growth. Things like, well, I'm going to switch billers or billing companies, because I don't feel they're doing a good job, or they're not doing a good job. And then they don't have a thorough understanding of what separates the top billers and billing teams from the thousands of other options out there. And when the new billing team doesn't perform, they might try to switch to go to another, again, keeping the entire practice in chaos. Or even worse, they stick with it because they just don't know what to do, or they keep a person who, well, she's been doing my billing forever, and they don't really ever challenge that because they just operate their business based out of fear. Okay, or we need more patients, we're going to try some marketing. So they try a little bit of marketing for a few weeks or a couple of months or a few months, and it doesn't really work. And then it's like, well, word of mouth is the best kind of advertising, and the marketing stops forever. Or they switch EHRs because they think their EHR is too hard to use. And maybe it is, and maybe they do need a new EHR. Again, so it's keeping the entire practice in chaos, or purchasing equipment that's never used. These are things that happen all the time. So, you have an internal ache and it's telling you that your practice isn't really healthy. So you keep trying to diagnose and fix it with what I call Band-Aid solutions. You try new CPT codes and new modifiers, and you bring in a new billing company, you add cash procedures and new technology to generate revenue, and you have a better month. You do better, revenue one month than the next, and you really don't know why. So you just hold on to hope, but you still feel that headache inside and you push it down. Now, it makes sense to seal the holes, but you've tried multiple times in multiple ways and you just don't really know what to do. So the next month your revenue is down again and your revenue becomes a roller coaster ride and you don't know why. Okay. So eventually this hope that you feel turns into despair because you're like, you know what, I've done this so many times. And you face that cold, dark idea that you've tried everything and just don't understand how to really be successful in private practice. So you lose your faith in your ability, right? You downsize your dreams, and maybe you cope with the thought, hey, I'm going to have to go work for a hospital administrator. And the stories, promises made and not kept, and the group infighting, and the boss telling you how to see patients, when to come, when to go, late nights, early mornings, when to go on vacation, and for how long. Or maybe you just accept, like, you know what, I'm always going to have a less than optimal medical practice, and you just continue to live with that deep ache inside that tells you that things should be better. Okay, well, things can and they should be better. And many physicians, unfortunately, they just give up. And this is really sad because in healthcare, the physicians actually do hold all the power, but they just don't seem to realize it. So they give up their independence, their freedom, and their power. And they give it up because managing and growing a medical practice is complicated. That is, of course, unless you implement the blueprint throughout your operation. So can I ask you a question? How would you like to create the medical practice of your dreams? Now, I want you to take a second here, and I want you to close your eyes and get a very crystal clear picture of your dream practice, and write it down later if you haven't already. Visualize that. Where is it located? What city? How big? How far away from your house? How many employees? How many providers? What services do you offer? So now that you have that picture in your mind, think about where you implement the Genome blueprint of a multi-million-dollar medical practice, and your private practice rocket ship takes off. And enables you to help and heal patients to achieve wealth, freedom, and independence. And where you finally have that status and recognition you've worked so hard for, where your practice brand is recognized and respected in your community and region, and where people talk about you and your practice and the healing results that you get. Now, I want to talk for a second about what I'm calling the old, worn, strictly traditional treatment and practice business model. You know the kind. It's where you send all your revenue out the door to make pharmaceutical executives rich while not healing your patients and at the same time hurting your bank account. Where you've unknowingly been trained to be a free salesperson for the pharmaceutical industry, and at the same time offering your patients the same old tried and unproven treatment protocols that do nothing to heal their bodies. And this because you've been treating patients for long enough. And the ones where the patient has been preconditioned by billions of dollars of marketing to come in and ask you for this newest farm drug that can cause them hypertension, diabetes, even death, and that create a cycle of sickness and disease in the patient. Where all you can do is manage disease, and let's not even mention the word heal disease because that's wrong and somewhat illegal. And where you tolerate poor practice operations and bad attitudes in your practice, and where you tolerate and live with poor billing practices that are costing you hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars over the life of your practice. Now, let's talk about a new opportunity. the new integrative medicine practice model. Now, remember the new definition, the 5-step system that I went over earlier, the clinical, where you integrate, Eastern and Western medicine, nutrition, and other types of healing modalities. And then you integrate strong revenue cycle management. Again, remember the revenue cycle is all things that affect the collection and retention of revenue in your business. Cash and insurance, not just cash or concierge medicine, and not just insurance, but the best of both in your practice model. And integrating point of service care into your integrative medicine practice business model, where you offer your patients point of service solutions that you don't have to personally provide, right? That they need to help you diagnose them better and treat them better. And integrating business strategy, leadership, and professional development into your practice's DNA, so that you can grow your team, so they can grow as your practice grows, so you can grow as your practice grows. And also integrating coaching until your practice is stable and can fly on its own, until you learn how to fly the ship. So let's focus like a laser on the success of your practice. Remember that visual we just pulled up? Can you see it? So relatively few physicians have completely mapped a blueprint of a multi-million-dollar medical practice. You see, physician entrepreneurs, they go into practice to learn they're dealing with a business model that they're just not prepared for. So many pitfalls: billing and collection, documentation, working with insurers and patients, audits, employees to deal with, advertising, and it is endless. So physicians are frustrated and they give up, instead of realizing that the Genome blueprint allows them to tap into the most powerful and honorable business model in the world. And you know what that is? That is the art of being a healer and acquiring wealth because of it. So why do I talk about an integrative medicine practice business model? And what are the advantages that it gives you over the competition? So I want to ask you to open your mind up and to go through this completely open-minded, okay? The integrative medicine practice model generates a revolving door of patients in your practice, which is a good thing. You want a revolving door of patients in there, okay? It generates a consistent flow of new premium patients who are thrilled and happy for you to build their insurance. They're happy to pay you cash for cash services. And they're so happy to refer everybody they know to you into your practice, because you and your team has helped them achieve healing results that they've been searching high and low and looking everywhere for, okay? This is what I'm talking about. So, in my practice with my father, we used to have patients literally stumble in where they had been looking for solutions for years, and some even decades. Like something as simple as constipation. And the physicians they were seeing were throwing pharmaceutical drugs at constipation instead of teaching them how to adjust their diet and put more fiber in their diet so they can start to have bowel movements, things like that. And they would come stumbling in desperate. And within a matter of weeks, they're feeling better and they're so happy and grateful to us, okay? And then think about the ones that are coming in referred, all right, or also then they go out and they refer everyone else they know, and it creates this momentum and energy around your business. It creates a revolving door, because the patient, when they're coming into you so sick, they need to see you a lot initially, but as time goes on and their body heals, they don't need to see you as much anymore, which you want, okay? Because what they're going to do is they're going to become your loudest mouthpiece once they get out, and they're going to send everybody they know. I know, I've seen it, I've experienced it. It is really awesome. Okay, and then think about the energy of healing that gets put around your practice, okay? And these patients then come in and they're expecting better results than they've seen anywhere else. See, so you're already actually activating the subconscious, the healing power of the subconscious mind, and you put this amazing energy of healing around your practice. So that amplifies and magnifies the healing results that you get in practice. And then when you're healing the patients and getting them in and out of your clinic, and that's your goal, they're going to need you again at some point. And when they need you, they're going to come back. So you're going to still keep a lifetime patient. All right, they're just not going to have to come to see you every 6 to 8, 12 weeks for that prescription refill. Now, I have to ask you a question. Where is there more impact with working with patients? And what generates more revenue? And what gives you more professional satisfaction as a healer, which is why you went into medical school, correct? Is it in seeing new chronic patients, chronically sick patients who need a lot of diagnostic testing and labs? Is there more revenue in that? Or is there more revenue in seeing the same old patient every couple of months for a $50 or $65 prescription refill for the 10 or 15, the 99212 or 213 that you can bill for that visit? Or is there more revenue in sending your patients out the door to buy a prescription at CVS or Walgreens, and one, by the way, which was never going to heal them, or using your knowledge as a physician healer to make a custom solution inside your practice and treat them with herbs and nutrition that you sell them, that they need to come to you to get because you have unlocked the specific treatment that they need, and that will put their body into a healing level, and you keep the money in your practice. Which one is it, C or D? Which one do you have more revenue in? Think about it. I want to show you this example here. The old treatment model, the old worn out treatment model versus the integrative medicine treatment model. And this is Jason, and he was treated at Pareja Medical Center. And you notice what he says. He says, Dave has done wonders for my health through implementation of holistic medicine. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease about 6 months prior to working with him, and I experienced terrible pain and was placed on steroids to keep my disease in remission. Old, worn out treatment protocols, right? Through working with Dave, I was able to eliminate the need for any medication, had been symptom-free for nearly 2 years. And we did that in a matter of months, really. I would recommend his service and expertise to anyone interested in improving their quality of life. Again, notice the old failed treatment protocols, and you know the story. Your providers, you see it day in and day out. So again, what stops physicians from achieving huge success in practice? Unfortunately, again, many physicians unknowingly allow these deadly and disease viruses to infect their minds and to infect their practices. So we're going to go over the 9 genes that cause disease or death in a medical practice. And that is listening to the advice of unqualified people. That's kind of like seeing a vet when you need a brain surgeon. Now, these unqualified people can come from anyone and anywhere. It could be a loving family member. It could be another doctor in the physician's lawn at the hospital. It could be another doctor in practice who's not making it. It could be a doctor who secretly is jealous of you and you don't know it, and he's saying things that just try to get you to be down. It could be somebody on in your staff, okay? And allowing these mind viruses to infect you over time can cause death over time. Blindly trusting your team with no internal controls, having no checks and balances, is very dangerous. And no or poor balance of power. You have one person in the clinic who has tons of power and feeds you all information about everybody and is never checked. Negative attitudes and energy are like cancer in a practice, or any business for that fact, but especially in a medical practice. And operating beneath your highest level of productivity, like you are rooming patients or drawing blood, instead of staying focused and busy on things that only you can do as a provider, something that your medical assistant can't do. And a big one that, is really big is incomplete documentation, where you don't put a high priority on charting and you let it stack up for a couple of weeks or a week or a couple of days. And then you spend your entire weekend, trying to catch up on charting, and you've got 40, 50, 60, or 100 charts stacked up. I've had providers even argue with me, say, no, I can remember everything. No, you can't. You can't remember what you did, at the beginning of the day to your first patient, much less what you did 100 patients ago. You have to do it as you go, okay? The next is, personality conflicts or inflated ego and greed. This is a real big one. The ego and the greed. And, the greed, like, I'm going to build this code because it pays more. Well, that doesn't fly. and that's going to get you caught, and that's going to kill your practice eventually. Or the ego, I know it all, and you can't let anyone tell you what to do. It's okay to be humble and to be open to learning and growing as a person and as an individual. And the more you grow in your practice, the more your practice is going to grow. And another one is inefficiently run operation. So this could be things like, long patient wait times. Your patients, everyone's, oh, I go to the doctor, they expect to wait. Why? Why should they expect to wait? That's just because that's how the industry has operated all this time. Why can't they expect to come in and get quick service, right? And to be, they get seen on time for their appointment. That can be done. Or, having no urgency or being slow and lazy to make changes and improvements in your practice. Patients are consumers. Think about how you go into a practice. If someone made you wait, or went into a business, someone made you wait and they didn't take care of you in a reasonable time frame, you would probably not go there again, right? And another one is a poorly managed and incomplete billing practices, or even worse, thinking your team is doing a good job without it ever being substantiated by a professional review and data, okay? And another one that has really got me is physicians are so proud that they got the lowest billing rate for their billing services, like they saved 1% or 0.5% or 2% or whatever, but at the same time they're losing 15% or 10%, and they're losing a lot of money because they saved 1% or 2%. It's really crazy. And these are some of the genes that cause disease and eventually the death of an operation. So let's talk about the building blocks to maximize revenue and collections from insurance and patients and protect your practice. It first starts with a solid contracting and credentialing and re-credentialing process. Okay, and then you have a solid front-end pre-service collection process for patients that every patient goes through when they schedule an appointment. Check their insurance, check their deductible, their balance, and that when they come into the office, they're required to pay on their balance. If they can't pay at all, they make a payment plan. They're showing intent to pay. Very important. This is around the attitude and energy of your practice. Okay, we're going to get into that in a little bit. And then an automated prior authorization process. There's technology nowadays you can use that will help you with the PA process. That's a tremendous workload on your staff. And let me tell you what, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars if it's not done right. I had a provider I was working with, and I showed him over the first 6 months of his practice, how he had lost over $300,000 in revenue, and he was making good money, and he was like, oh, well, he didn't put an urgency to do anything about it, and then it just kept going down the line until he had other problems that were going on in the practice that he finally made it a point to get it fixed. But you can automate these kinds of things in a practice nowadays. And here's a big one, Clinical Documentation Improvement Initiative, CDI. If your documentation and billing isn't airtight and they don't match up, you're susceptible to huge problems with insurers, and not knowing is not an excuse. It really is not. They don't care that you don't know, quote unquote. And another one is a high quality revenue cycle partner or billing team. Well managed, where you know for a fact that your team is doing a good job. And you know this by doing independently quarterly audits of your billing team. And these audits are for the purpose to fix any gaps or holes so that you can fix it quickly, train your billing team up to hold them more accountable. So, you have nowadays, you have payer timelines. It used to be like Medicare. Oh, if you didn't bill it, they'd give you 6 months or a year to bill it out, right? Or Blue Cross would give you 6 months. Now, they shrunk it down to 30-day timeline, 45-day timeline. You don't get that bill out the door, you're not getting paid, and they don't have to pay you because, of what's called timely filing limits, right? And, or timely timely timelines to follow up or appeal claims. You have to follow these things. And here's another one, a bad debt system to weed out bad patients. Why would you want to have a patient that's taking up your schedule that has no intent to pay? Right? And it's one thing if you decide to give them charity, but it's a whole nother thing if they have no intent to ever pay. They cancel appointments. They do no shows. Every time a patient doesn't show on your schedule, the cost is between $120 to $200 average cost of a no show or a late cancel on your schedule. Get these patients out of your practice. Another one is a point of service cash solution. a system that allows you to track all cash and holds them accountable who are collecting. And it lets your team also simultaneously offer patients convenient point of service payment and financing options so patients can pay their bills. Patients are used to paying their bills nowadays. And the last, and certainly not least, is a back-end discharge process that each patient goes through when they check out. When you fix these and your revenue increases, then the flip side is you have more money to pour into your practice, and then you can add providers, employees, more diagnostics, and you can grow your practice model, and it creates a circle of momentum that leads to more growth. It's adding fuel to the fire and allows it to grow bigger, okay? And so think about this. What allows some physicians to still make millions, have freedom, flexibility, lifestyle, and build wealth? I asked you this earlier. And there's 7 super genes that the successful practices utilize in their practice. And when you've completely decoded these, I'm not talking partially because you can partially decode them, but when you completely decoded them, you have phenomenal results. And their integrated revenue cycle system, again, cash and insurance, we went over this earlier. Okay, where you're integrating the best of both worlds. Patients are used to paying cash, the high deductibles, and all that. And if you're not, if once you're in a point where you're collecting from the patients and they know that you will collect from them when they come to the door, they're not going to utilize your practice anymore for the practice that they eat their deductible up on. They're going to go to the practice down the street that they know doesn't run their business properly, that will bill their insurance and that won't balance bill them, and that they can use their deductible up on. Integrated marketing system, so internal and external, online and offline. And where you have the perfect mix of marketing, and you have to start strategically with the budget that you use every month, and you're committed to doing it over and over, and don't fall into the lie and the virus that, well, word of mouth is the best type of advertising. There's this new trend of hiring a marketing rep to go and call on other practices to refer business. And it's just like I had one doc that I was talking with, and he was so set on this method of marketing for his practice. And he literally told me, he said, well, I have marketing reps, and they come and then they leave, and I have to keep hiring. And he told me that he was paying them and how much he was allocating. And then he said, then I get the patient, then the doctor will send me a patient, I'll get the patient healed, and then the patient doesn't go back to the doctor, and the doctor stops sending. And he told me this happens all the time, but he was still insisting that he needed this marketing rep. And I was trying to pitch to him, I was like, you need to have a marketing system, a comprehensive marketing system. Yeah, I think the rep can be a good thing. It's part of a comprehensive strategy though. All right, let's keep going because we're running short on time. Integrative service offerings, an integrative treatment system, right? Eastern and Western medicine, having on-site diagnostics and things that generate more revenue that allow you to provide point of service care. Reliable and secure technology with some redundancy and like your internet connection. So if internet goes down, Comcast goes down, you're not sitting there unable to operate your business. There's things that can be done to easily stabilize your IT environment. And here's another one that really big is your practice culture, your team, your practice culture, how your employees respond to others, how they treat each other, their attitudes. This is huge. You have to address this. Your patients feel it, your practice feels it. It's an energetic relation. Another one is the attitude and energy of your operation. It's your business culture, how your patients respect you. Do you have a lot of no-shows? Do they not show up? Do they cancel last minute? Do they pay their deductibles? What about the financial management of your business and how you put some energy into managing your vendor relationships, paying your vendors on time, things like that. And last, and certainly not least, is the leadership development system. And that is, first, it starts with the growth of the practice owner, the physician. And then that trickles down into the growth of the employees and making sure you're always pouring in and investing into your team for growth. So some organizations map these out partially, but I promise you, when you completely decode these 7 operational elements, you are well on your way to mapping the genome of a multi-million-dollar medical practice, and you have amazing results. So right here, here's another case study review. You see here, Amr Kassar, Dr. Kassar, GN endocrinology, started his practice in January 2016. He started full-time brand new in practice, okay? And he had one full-time employee and one part-time employee. We started with his revenue cycle. He had no brand, no marketing, no online presence. Now he has a developing brand that's growing rapidly, and he has a nice online presence. He has 3 full-time nurse practitioners, and he has one other physician. He has a team of 13 full-time employees that support them in 3 of his own locations. Not timeshare with other people, no other doctors working there, 3 of his own locations. So this is less than 2 years after starting in full-time private practice, or less than 2 years after starting in practice. My team went and we found him a new space to build out, and we built out a brand new medical center. And we did all the work for him, and his multi-million-dollar practice generates a ton of insurance and cash revenue, and he is dominating his region. He's literally dominating it. And I just want to actually play this real quick. This is really actually pretty cool. Here's Amr, Dr. Kassar is one that I had extensive talks with about the power of integrative medicine in his practice. And when he was starting in practice, he was terrified of the hospital. He was like, what am I do if they hire another doctor? And I said, Amr, I said, don't worry about it. I said, become a healer in practice. When you become a healer, you have nothing to worry about. There's going to be no end of patients. I want to play this testimonial from Mike, who's a patient that I interviewed.
It's given me my life back tremendously, and like I said before, it's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
I didn't think I would have this, but I've got it.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to keep it. So
it's amazing when you've been down the road you've been, and then you get that health back.
Right, you become so accustomed to, well, you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you just kind of like a depression, and now you come out of the depression. It's like, yeah, I can do this, and I can do that, and the more you do it, the better you get.
Sure.
So
you can actually see now how you can enjoy your retirement.
Right, yeah. I woke up in an operating room 3 years ago and thinking, well, I worked hard all my life, and is this it? Really? After 43 years of working and pulling and tugging and switching, is this really it? They're telling me you can't go back to work, you can't do this, you can't do that. And on top of that, that probably added to the weight also. Comfort food, believe me, a lot of people eat for entertainment. I was one of them. I ate because I was bored, couldn't do nothing else, so you eat. I told the guy where I was working out the other day, I said, over a year ago, 2 years ago, it would have been nothing for me at 9 o'clock at night on Friday to order a pizza after I already had dinner at 5 o'clock, But now you realize that, hey, you're killing yourself for doing that, And I was just doing it because I needed to be entertained. Now I can entertain myself. I got plenty of energy, plenty of things to do. I find projects to do. I'm off doing things that I can do, And so in that point, yeah, it is life change. It's total life change. And I feel blessed to have it.
Now, Dr. Kassar asked me to come in and interview his patients, and Mike's story was just phenomenal. And I got a lot of videos out of Mike, but Mike, his life was completely transformed off his diabetic meds, his blood pressure meds. He had his life back, saw how he can enjoy his retirement. This is why we do what we do in the medical field. This is why we should do what we do. This is, I think, why you who are listening to this got into the medical field. All right, I'm going to just play this other one from Amr Kassar real quick.
Yeah, David, actually, I've known David for the last now 2 or 3 years through my brother, Dr. Samir Kassar. David is a great guy. He is, very efficient. He's always available. He actually does consulting for physicians. I know he helped my brothers, Dr. Kassar, Samir Kassar, a lot in his practice. So I called David, back 2 or 3 years ago to come to help out in my clinic here. and he did a great job, especially with my new clinic here, my new practice here in this location, for the build out in the practice with the clinic here. And what I like in David actually that he's always available. So whenever you need to call him, need some help or have any questions, he always get back to you on the same day or by the most the next day. And he is, that's what I like in him. He is always available. He's always eager to help and do his best to help out whatever we need for the practice here. In summary, he is a great guy. I mean, I always recommend him to any my colleague. The main thing he did for my practice here, that's actually the new clinic we are here right now. He actually helped with the build out, process. He was able to talk to the builders, electricity companies, IT, help, because moving to a new clinic, we need to get great help to get everything established. So, especially having a busy practice, which we have right now, and moving to a bigger place, you have to make sure everything's is doing well and it's running smoothly and great, so you don't have to have any troubles in the future. And David was a great help in that process. So that's what he mainly did in the practice here in my clinic, and which is again was a great thing he did.
Does he help you with sort of day-to-day stuff, or is there stuff that he does that way, or it's more the?
No, it's different than my brother. I mean, he actually doesn't help with the day-to-day stuff, but I mean, there's certain things we need help with. He's always available. We call him up, and he comes right away, and he helps out. Especially right now with this marketing we do right now, he brought you here, and and we're doing the videos right now. He's gonna help out with the marketing piece now, and Facebook, and and the website, and YouTube. So that would be a great thing that can be doing for me too.
So that's, again, Amr Kassar, another one that I've helped him, again, monumental transformations in his practice. Here's another one with Dr. Irene Solomon, and I'm not going to stay on this long, but she goes into, my consulting and helping with revenue cycle and, doing provider interviews and employee interviews and IT and commercial expansion. And, you can see what she's saying there. And she's seen firsthand how I interview and negotiate, and my moral character and compassion, and being a leader. And she's someone that I worked extensively with in the clinic. So now these people are dream clients. They're the types of clients who leave behind what they thought about private practice. They let the ego go and let me help me to quickly transform the practices. The result working together is like launching a rocket ship in outer space. You see, right now, I'm looking for a few more of my dream clients to help them get these kinds of massive results. So you might be thinking, how do I get the Genome Blueprint so I can also, grow my practice by, 200, 100, 200, 300% in the next year? And you see, to achieve results like this, you need a blueprint. You need the Genome Blueprint of a multi-million-dollar medical practice to quickly get results that my clients and their practices achieve. And you need a coach to help implement systems, hire employees, and get bring you reliable partners. And for a limited time, I would like to work with you in a marketing strategy session if you meet these criteria. You see, these are the top 5 categories of physicians that I typically work with. I'm looking for those who are looking for the blueprint of a $1 million medical practice so they can also achieve million or multi-million-dollar growth. And those who truly love to help others and they value results of patients above all else, and they want to become recognized as healers in their communities. And those who want to take their practice to the next level and become recognized and respected brand that regularly attracts new patients. And maybe you're having trouble with your billing, coding, and documentation, and you just really want to know that your team is doing the best job in getting all the money in, and we can work together in ways on that. And of course, those who are willing to have some skin in the game to achieve their dreams, and that they understand that it takes money to invest into their practice to take it to that next level. You see, my clients make back way more than their investment within the first 2 months of working with me, and they want to stick with me for the long haul because they see the results. So who is this not for? It's not for those who aren't serious and haven't started yet. It's not for those who like to make excuses, complain, and who are okay with somebody bossing them around and telling them how to provide patient care, and maybe they expect somebody else to do the work for them. And it's not for those with a negative complaining attitude. And it's not for those who are stuck in information gathering mode and aren't prepared to take action or get results, those who are comfortable. And it's not for those who aren't serious about growing their practice by another $250,000 to $1 million in the next 12 months. So here's how the process works. All right, we're gonna focus on a specific custom tailored strategy session to help you solve the biggest challenges that physicians face in practice. And this strategy session will take around 30 minutes, and you're gonna speak with me personally. And I'm gonna help you identify what you already have and help you put together a strategy to dramatically grow your business by 100 to 200% or more in the next 12 months. I'll map out a plan that you can follow so you can hit at least 100K a month. And this call is going to be, 30 to 45 minutes. It'll probably be the most valuable time you spend in your practice this year. So who's this for again? This is for those who are currently in practice making money and they want to do better. You don't need to be making a huge amount of money, but you need to be making some money. And you need to have a desire to do whatever it takes to grow your business. And you have to want to really work hard, okay, and fix the operation so that it can make more. If you have that, I can help you and structure your practice to get the results that you want, to build the marketing system, to attract the patients, and to really skyrocket your practice in a short time. But it's crucial that you're willing to be open-minded and offer something different than other physicians. All right, see, and to me, it's the better the fit, the better the results. I'm looking for win-wins, and not knowing that we're a good fit is crucial because I like to get all my clients results and work with them for the long term. And to do that, I need to get you a quick return on investment or an ROI. And the truth is, there's just those I can't help. And if that's the case, we're talking that's 100% fine, and I'm going to be upfront with you and suggest another alternative. I'm only looking for those who are a good fit and who I'm certain I can get results for. So the first step is to complete an application for a private strategy session below. And this application is necessary to determine first that I can help you and that I'm the best person to help you generate the results. And second, that you're ready to step up, commit, take action, and do the required work to generate the results. And once you submit the application, you'll be able to schedule a time to conduct your one-on-one strategy session with me, and we're going to start to work together to figure this out, figure out what you want, how to make it happen quickly with predictability. At the end of the call, one of two things is going to happen. You're either a good fit, and I'll extend an invitation to work with me as one of my clients, or if not, it's totally okay, and there's no hard feelings. Either way, you're going to receive an extremely valuable strategy session and are going to walk away with newfound clarity as to where you are right now and what's holding you back from achieving the results that you want, along with the steps that you need to get there. All right. So it's likely going to be the most valuable time to invest into your practice this year. So go ahead and complete the application right now, and we're going to see if we're a good fit for doing business together. So there's the website that you go. I'm encouraging you to be decisive and take action now. All right. www.thegenomeblueprint.com/apply. Okay. Typically, out of 5 physicians that I talk with on the phone, there's 3 I'm going to say, you know what, I just don't think I can help you. And, only 2 out of the 5 I'm really able to help. So I only want to work with those who I'm convinced I can help. And I only want to work with the docs who understand that they need to have some skin in the game. So what I want you to do right now is if you want to skyrocket your practice to 100 grand or more per month, or way more per month, and have results like I've shared with you, go ahead to genomeblueprint.com/apply. Again, www.thegenomeblueprint.com/apply. Now, there's over 130 people on this webinar tonight, and my schedule can only handle 14 calls over the next 5 days, so you must apply right now. Guys, it's really not often that I block out a whole bunch of time to talk with people. And so this is a rare opportunity. And if you want to take advantage, please go to the URL www.thegenomeblueprint.com/apply. Okay, my schedule will fill up fast. So don't leave it till tonight or tomorrow or any of that stuff. If you want it, do it now. Like I said, this is for physicians who I can help make a transformation in their practice. And if that's you, I can help you craft a dynamic practice, define your mountain in the medical industry, and completely own it and take it over. And then help you build a system to get patients, high value patients day in and day out and get those patients referring everybody they know to you. So again, head over to the URL, guys, www.thegenomblueprint.com/apply, and apply right now because the spaces are going to fill up quickly. And, you know, I see a couple of people are asking questions is what's the cost of the call? And the call is actually 100% free. There's no strings attached. I'm going to talk with you for 30 minutes and we're going to map out an action plan to get you where you want to be, and there's no charge. So again, head over now, www.thegenomblueprint.com/apply, and schedule that appointment. And thank you everybody for attending the Genome Blueprint of a Multi-Million-Dollar Medical Practice webinar. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope I've delivered tremendous value to you. And I hope you get some awesome results with this material, because like I said, if you want to take a shortcut, if you want a predictable system, you have to learn from somebody who's actually been there and done that, that can help you avoid all the pitfalls of private practice. Okay, this is for those docs that just absolutely know that they're awesome at what they do and believe they can just dominate their marketplace and make a high 6-figure and 7-figure income doing it. Physicians who love to help patients and get healing results above all else, like I've shown you, throughout this webinar. So I can't stress enough how important it is to go over. Head over to the URL now, www.thegenomblueprint.com/apply, and sign up for your free strategy session. And I want to wish you all a very happy and safe new year. Be safe and have fun, and may 2020 be an amazing year and the beginning of an amazing decade for you. And God bless you and have a great evening. Take care.